Good morning, guys. Captain Josh Simmons here with Shallow Water Drifter. How are you all doing today? Wanted to make another video for you, a little small fishing report. Tampa Bay, sheephead are on fire, and that's going to be the subject we're going to talk about this morning. We had some cold weather come in, and as those who grew up around this area also know that the cold weather also causes these sheephead to move into the bay, and this is their spawning ground during the winter time. So all these sheephead are going to be huddled up against any kind of reef, public reef, any kind of rock structure, any kind of structure that Tampa Bay has. They're going to come into the shallows and they're going to spawn. So this is going to be a great opportunity if you got kids, family in, and just to go out, drown some shrimp. This is a great opportunity for you guys to catch some fish. So it's a lot of fun, and plus they are my wife's favorite eating fish. I'm just telling you right now. We're going to move on. We're going to talk about tactics, talk about ways, and talk about the tackle I use and how I rig up to catch these fish. So if we get good days out there and you're able to get to the reef when the wind's not blowing, this is going to be some prime time sheephead fishing this time of year. So first we're going to talk about what I use, the simple stuff, okay? So what I normally have, I got a couple rods here and I'm going to go through them with you. Your basic, you know me, my spinning gear, okay? This is a basic 3000. I got 15 Power Pro on it, okay? I got a 20-pound leader with a uni knot with the leader, okay? And I use about a 1/4 inch jig head. Okay, when I'm fishing shallow reefs, when it comes to like 7, 8 feet rock, like big heavy structure, that's where these sheephead are going to want to be. They're going to come up, they're going to eat all the barnacles off of it. Right now they're on feast mode. Okay, so they are eating just about anything that floats by on an incoming tide, outgoing tide. They're going to eat. Okay, so shrimp is number one, probably their main focus right now on diet, okay? But they are crab eaters. They are crustacean eaters. They'll eat, like I said, just about anything that floats by. So what I'll do on a light casting rod, once I find my structure, I'll anchor as close as I can to that structure, okay? Most likely, that structure in that area has other structures near it. So once I have my boat settled up, pretty close to the structure I'm gonna fish, I have a jig head, no weight, okay? I'll put a shrimp on it, usually by the head, horn, like I call it mouth to horn, okay? But that's not really what a shrimp's mouth is. I go underneath the shrimp and I come out, there's a little black dot, I go right through the black dot and leave his tail hanging. Okay, so I will drop him right off the edge of the boat and I'll go to the bottom and then I'll put one crank on it. That'll keep this thing from the bottom drifting like this, okay? Because those sheephead are going to be like this, but they still have eyes on the top, towards the top of their head. So they're going to be able to see, they're going to see that drift by, and they're going to eat it, okay? Because like I said, they're hungry right now. They are hungry. So great light tackle gear, fun to do. And the reason I use this light tackle gear is if I'm in the area and I'm not getting any bites, sometimes I'll pitch over about 10 to 15 feet, let it sink, reel up real slow. And if I catch a fish right there, that means probably I can cast right back into the same area and I'll probably get more fish in that area, okay? Just because that means they're located over there, okay? And sometimes I'll make a long cast and get a bite, and that means maybe I want to move my boat towards that area a little bit, maybe re-anchor, which is always a pain in the butt, but you can do that, okay? Also been known to use a chum bag. If you take a chum bag, you can buy at any one of these bait shops around here. Draw anchor on your reef, deploy your chum bag, make sure it's flowing nice and good, and those sheephead will work behind your boat, just like snapper will. They'll work right behind your boat, and then you'll be able just to feed the feast. Just let them go, and you'll be able to pluck them that way too. So, jig head, 20-pound leader. I got 15, I think, on this one. Yeah, I think I got 15 Power Pro on this one. And all, like I said, hit the bottom, one crank up, let it bounce off the bottom. Now, You will get snagged. If you're going to get snagged on a rock, that means you're fishing in the right spot. So just beware. You got to keep your line tight as you feel the bottom bounce. Sheephead will eat like this. They will come up, they'll eat it, and then they'll draw. Okay, they'll eat it and draw. Sometimes you just feel that little, when your line's tight, you'll feel that little bump, bump, and they're on there. Okay, they're not gonna wham hit you running. Okay, they're just gonna go bump, and they're just gonna continue swimming. So sometimes you just need to be able to feel that thump, and then you pull up in your reel and you're on. So that's one way I like to fish. Now, another way to do it, this is a 4,000. I got 20-pound Power Pro, and I'm running a 20-pound leader. What we call this is a knocker rig. I'm going to set this rod here and show you what this is. I'm going to get close. We have a line. This weight travels up and down the line like this, okay, to your leader knot. On the end of my line, I have a hook, okay? All this is you're deploying weight. Kind of looks like a jig head with a big hook, with a big weight, okay? You're going to put your shrimp on there, and once this drops and hits the bottom, your shrimp is feared to move, okay? So this way, you can kind of keep control of it right at the base of your boat. So what you want to do is you drop it, let it set on the bottom, do one crank, and sometimes you can just keep it in that area where it bounces and your shrimp still moves around, like this. Okay, you can reel it up and move it till you feel tension, and then you can give it some slack again. Now the way that you're going to feel the bite on this is more like your line's going to move from you. So when your line starts moving, then you know you got a fish. But if you're just sitting there like this, slack, then most likely he's not going to be on it. So you want to wait for your line to move. But this is a knock rig. Sometimes when you bounce it, it'll make a knock sound too under the water. That's why they call it a knocker rig. And that noise, they can hear that. So when that shrimp gets drugged, pop, pop, it's like their tail snapping under the water. So that's why they call this a knocker rig. This is a great way to fish reefs, even for grouper, snapper, or anything like that. This is what they mostly use offshore, but we do use it in shallow water reefs. Great, another sheephead. Great way to catch sheephead. Another great way tackle to use sheephead. Now, number 2 or number 3. I'm on number 3. So I'm going to put this up. Oh, and by the way, here's a tip. All people always fight with these. They want to know how can you put this. You know, some people have hooks all next to their rods, and you can put it up here next to your rod and do this, but your rod will, the weight will bounce, hit your rod. You don't want to do that because it'll damage your rod. And then people put on their eyelids. Well, if you're a fisherman, you always know if you put it on your eyelid, it'll crack the inside of your eyelid after a while. So you don't want to do that. And plus your weight still bounces back and forth. Well, if you put it on the inside where this metal piece is, see that? Where this metal piece is. Then I can take this weight, I can open my bail, let some line out, and I can wrap this around my reel. This way, there's no knocking against the rod, it's just knocking against the reel. And if you want to tighten up, you can just turn your spin face tight, or if it's too tight, you can loosen it up. That's a good way to put stuff away, store away, and keep the rig going without it bouncing on the rod. And it'll save your rod, it'll save it from getting dinged up from the weight. Same thing when you're running offshore and you want to pre-rig your rods and you want your rods are all bouncing. You never want a weight bouncing against your rod. So there's a little tip for those who bottom fish. Okay, we're going to move on to the next rod. Now this is what they call a chicken rig. At least that's what I've always been told is called a chicken rig. So you'll see a lot of commercial fishermen use a chicken rig. And what they do is when you're doing deep drops, you'll have a weight like this, and you'll come up to the line and you'll see a 3-way swivel like that. And from the 3-way swivel, you see a line that goes to my hand here where your hook is, where your shrimp will be. Okay, so in this scenario, what you're going to want to do is you're going to get on your reef, and this is great for drifting, by the way. If you get over the top of your reef and you drop this weight into the structure or by the structure, then you can keep your line tight. And as your line is tight on the bottom, this is free drifting around that area, okay? So this doesn't get snagged on rocks or doesn't get up here tangled up with everything else, because this three-way swivel is able to move around easy. It doesn't get spun, tangled around, especially when you got a good current, because then you know the current's going to pull this way and it's going to be free flowing. This way you're not going to get snagged, okay, with this hook. Definitely closer to the weight, you're going to be closer to the bottom. Higher the weight, you're going to be higher. Okay, that makes sense to everybody. That's what they call a chicken rig. Now, what they do in commercially when they do deep drop, sometimes you put an extra hook on here close to the bottom. So you have two hooks. Okay, you can do that too. You can have a two hook. You can have one here at the bottom. Same thing, another three-way. Or you can even, on these pyramid weights, there's a loop. See that? You can even put a swivel, clip it to there, put a line here, and then have your excess line shooting off of there. Now, the problem with that is I feel like that gets tangled up a lot because it wraps around and drop it down and it does get tangled up. This, to me, does not get tangled up as much, okay? So you could put a three-way in here and have two going on there. So you can double, catch twice the amount off one bite. Here's the trick. Once you get a fish on, bam, don't ever react fast. Like, pull it up, that's cool. But once you get to fish on there, wham, sometimes you might want to let him sit down there for like 30 seconds as he's fighting the rod, because all that commotion is going to bring another fish over there going, what's he doing? And he'll see that free floating piece over here on top, and he'll eat that. And that's how you get two at a time. Little trick, two at a time. Same thing if you ever heard of a sabiki rig. We use those to get bait offshore. Same thing. If you get a bite on your sabiki rig and you know you can pull it up and you feel the bait fish on there, he's hooked, let it sit down there for a couple minutes, because that commotion will draw in other bait fish, and then you wind up loading up your whole sabiki rig. Little tip. Okay, so this is your chicken rig. Great way to do it. Also, when I talked about drifting, is when you get above your uptide of your reef, you can deploy these out towards the bottom, get them on the bottom, put a couple cranks, and drift over your reef. This way, this weight will bounce over the structure. Sometimes it'll get hung up, but don't forget, this is just a piece of lead. So you'll be able to probably pop it off. These triangles don't really get snagged a lot, but I've lost a couple. Sometimes the dumbbells, which I probably have one right here. So there we go. Yeah, this is a dumbbell, okay? Those tend to smooth through structure a lot better than these pyramids, so they'll bounce through, get those cracks, but you can always pull them up easier than you can through those triangles. So you might want to look at these. On this I have a number 2. I go from number 2 to 1, number 2, 3. 3 is kind of heavy, so you might want to stick to a number 2 or number 3. This is all like 10, 15 at the most deep dropping. You might want to go 20 feet at the most, okay, as far as deep dropping for these fish. So this causes your bait to be a free line. This weight just makes sure you're down there at the bottom. Okay, that's how this works. So another great technique, another way to keep your rods rigged up for the right presentation at any time. So there's your fishing report for Tampa Bay. Sheephead are on fire. I hope you guys get out there. I hope you guys can be able to take your kids out there, because it's a lot of fun and it can be very exciting. And like I said, very good to eat. All right, guys, thank you for watching Shallow Water Drifter. This is Captain Josh Simmons. Appreciate you. And feel free to share, like, or subscribe to my videos. I appreciate it.